obviously, my first question will be if you can start by explaining us, so when and why did you start to practice yoga?
Mm. Yes. All right. So I started practicing yoga, I think it was about 12 years ago, or maybe even 13, when I went back to Netherlands because I've been traveling in Asia quite a lot. And I didn't get in touch with yoga at all, actually. I got in touch with Tai Chi. So I lived in China for 2 years, and when I came back, I missed that feeling of being in your body and understanding how the body works and being more free in your movements. So when I went to the Netherlands, I found a yoga school and I just decided to try out. And it happened to be Vinyasa yoga, which I ended up falling in love with. Tried a bit of Bikram yoga, did not fall in love with that at that point. I tried it again later. And so that's how it started. And I quickly got addicted. So I did maybe once a week, ended up doing twice a week. And by the end of the year, I was there 3-4 times a week because it was just so great. I really loved it. Quite far. I think it was like 45 minutes by bike just to get there, and then 45 minutes back in the snow and in the rain. You know how in Holland it's cold.
Sounds familiar.
But they always had a cup of tea waiting for me after class, which was really nice, and it was exactly what I needed then. And it kind of followed me around like that, actually. So it started in the Netherlands, and then when I arrived here in Lyon a year later, I immediately tried to find a new school, and I ran into the more traditional, not traditional, I think. They were more like the schools that were there for years already. So the most obvious choice was looking for Vinyasa in Lyon, which was at that point one school which was known for it. And then when I started practicing there, I found that the teachers there were teaching in other places too. So I ended up taking classes in 3 different schools. The job at that point was really stressful, so I kind of tried to balance it out with teaching a lot of yoga. And I think 3 years later, that's when I decided, well, you know what? I tried all kinds of yoga because I was taking Ashtanga classes, I was taking Ayurveda classes, Hatha classes, and Vinyasa classes. Just because I didn't want to choose. I liked everything, and I liked how everything had a different effect on the body, on the mind, on just my general well-being every day. And after a while, the stress of the job kind of got to me, and I think it was my aunt who came to me and she said, wait, Marije, you do know that you're doing yoga a lot, and every time we see each other, you give me a little class, and it's really good. And you know, your parents, they were both teachers, and your brother is a teacher, and you have been teaching English in China. Maybe teaching is like, you know, a natural thing for you to keep on doing. And so I started thinking about it, and that's when I realized, yeah, actually, I'm doing so much yoga and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying sharing this knowledge and sharing this feeling. Maybe it is something that I should be doing more seriously. So yeah, there we go.
Sorry. Yeah, beautiful. So you start because, if I understand, you start because you were looking for a reconnection to your body and to this freedom through movement.
Yes.
And it grows on you slowly, years after years, until you finally find the kind of your life mission. Like teaching is my life mission, and through yoga, it's just beautified.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That is it. It went from something that was more of a physical practice to a spiritual practice to the not the need, but the wanting to share. And that's how it happened.
That's beautiful. Really cool. Really cool. So today, the kind of yoga that you are teaching, is it the Vinyasa yoga, or is it something derived? Yes.
Well, I mean, Vinyasa is kind of a mix between Ashtanga and Iyengar, so it's very free as to what you want to implement in the classes. And it shows because in the beginning, I was much more Ashtanga based. And when I started teaching, I taught exactly like my teacher did it. and he was quite an active man as well, and it corresponded with my energy then. And so I think when some of them were encouraged, they said, oh great, awesome, I can go and do the same things. They came to yoga with the same frame of mind as I did. They wanted to move their body and feel free. And after a while, you know, it matures, and I was getting a big interest in yin yoga also, and the Chinese medicine, and it just became much more of a large concept. Also, I hurt myself quite a lot, and that was mostly through my very vigorous Ashtanga practice that I noticed that my body had limitations.
Yes.
And I think those experiences made me slow it down and go more towards the Iyengar side of the teaching. So it is still a very physical practice that I teach, but it is much more slowed down and much more meticulous. So I try to separate every posture and make people understand how they're supposed to feel instead of what it's supposed to look like. So when you come into this posture, don't look in the mirror, don't look at the people around you, but how does it feel in your body? And maybe it's not at all the same as someone else in the same posture, but just try and go with it and see if it's good for you. And if it's not, well, then we change.
Would you say that the Vinyasa yoga also unlock your creativity during your classes? I ask because I remember that when I choose to teach something more like a flow yoga or a Vinyasa inspiration, it was also because I felt a little bit, trapped into the rigidity of the Ashtanga classes when I wanted to share something with people, that depend on my mood, that depend on the season or the weather or whatever. And I find this liberty, this freedom into Vinyasa. Would you say that was a bit the same for you? Did you find this creativity way?
Yeah. There were two things. There was the creative aspect for sure, although I'm very comfortable in a rigid practice. Like Ashtanga is more of a series and you do, consistent. But for me also, it was just the thing that we talked about, the body. I had students and people around me that had certain limitations in their body. They couldn't do certain things. Yes. And of course, there are other forms of yoga that are very well adapted. But Vinyasa had that fun part that you could play with the rhythm also. You don't have to stay 5 breaths. You can stay a little less or a little longer. And I think that is what is actually my biggest joy today as I'm teaching, is that I have a class with so many different bodies. And sure, you attract a certain people at a certain time because, they either look at you and you're the same age, or they look at you and they really like the way that you teach. But for me, I realized at a certain point that I had a lot of different ages. So I had some students that came with their children, or I had people that came with their parents. And then there were all kinds of obstacles. So even in my Vinyasa, I think in the beginning when I was teaching classes, I had my little class prepared. I wrote everything down, came in class, and I'm like, well, that's not going to happen. Like, this class is not going to happen. Or I lost the paper and I'd be like, okay, well, I guess I'll just improvise. And nowadays I actually go to my students and I ask them, how are you feeling? And how's your body doing? What do you need? How is your energy today? And, you don't always have to ask. You can see a person walking in and they have this feel. They have a smile, or they don't. And, it can help you. But that is what guides me the most today in my Vinyasa practice. It's the people that are in front of me. So when I practice alone, I take time to tune in and to really just feel, okay, what do I need? Well, do I need to breathe and just go slow? Or do I need to move and just to empty my mind? Or does my body feel like it needs to lose some energy? Or so, yeah, it's really a mix of when I'm teaching people in front of me and also my own energy. And then when I'm alone, really taking time to listen to myself.
I know that for some teachers, I would say even many teachers, including me, from time to time, it's a bit difficult to keep your own practice and your teaching. And especially for some teachers who have a lot of classes, like every day, 2-3 times a day, 4 times a day, it can be very challenging for the body, but also for the mind, to keep your own practice and your own, this inner fire that make you go into the mat and commit to the practice. And I was wondering how you managed that, and if you were still practicing for yourself, by yourself.
Yeah. Well, this is a very good question. You know, you have to be honest. And to be very honest, I do not practice every day. I had a baby a year ago, and that definitely changed my rhythm. But also, I try to do it quite frequently, but my rhythm has changed so much. So when I started teaching, I had about 22 classes a week, which is so, but I have a lot of pique, I have a lot of fire, and I kept my, I just kept on going. And now I've slowed down to about 8 classes a week, which is, for me, it's perfect. I think it's just easy going, and I find more time to practice. But my teacher, he said, you know what? Practice as much as you can and try to never have a break more than 2 days in between two practices. So that's what I've been trying the last 6 years, to practice at least every 2 days, 3 days. And sometimes I do more, sometimes I do less. And when I don't have inspiration, what helps a lot, and I did this a while ago already, is I subscribe to a platform. You know, like what I tell my own students, I followed my own advice and I went to, I don't know if I can use the name of the platform or not,
Yes,
but I
you
use
can. Yes, you can. Yes.
Yeah. So basically my teacher, David Lurie, he's on Eckhart Yoga, and whenever I need to feel a little bit more inspired or have a need in particular, or I have a posture that I just can't figure out, I go on that website and, you know, I find a class that suits me because there's so many of them there. And then I just, you know, follow a class. Because, well, I can't always go to a studio. I try, but I like to practice also by myself and not be around a lot of people. So when I'm really out of inspiration, I just do that. But I mean, the best thing, if you can, is just to roll out your mat at some point in the day, lie down, sit down, close your eyes and go, okay, let's see what happens now. And maybe something great happens.
Absolutely, yes. Or sometimes nothing, but it's also a part of the practice.
My goodness. Sometimes I sit down and there's like a baby screaming in my ear and a dog nibbling my toes, and I go, okay, you know what? Well, I guess you all need my attention now, so.
Life is happening.
Life happens, you know, but that's yoga too. And I think with time, when you start practicing yoga, the physical aspect, sure, it's great and it's good to maintain the body and to be in a healthy body, but the physical practice is just this, and then there's all the rest of it. And really, that practice of yoga, the other limbs, is so much more important for me now. It's being able to breathe through a stressful situation, or just to enjoy a moment to sit still, or to remember my values and how I want to treat others and how I want to be treated. And all these things we practice every day. So there's really no excuse to not do yoga. We do yoga every day. The physical practice, though, maybe not as much, you know, at some periods, and other periods it just goes all by itself.
Exactly. But it sounds like a very natural way actually to tune into your needs, and to respect that sometimes you need more asana and more powerful exercise, and sometimes you just need to tune into your emotion or just be present. And I think it's a very natural way.
Sometimes you need a kick in the butt also.
Absolutely. We have to be careful.
With this, he looks at me, he goes, you look annoyed. I said, yes, but I don't want to do anything. He says, you know what? I'm just going to go on a walk with the dog and the baby. I'm going to put your mat out there. And, you know, you see if you want to do it. Do some yoga.
That's really, really love.
99% of the time, he's right. So, yeah, I do need it. I do need to feel like, you know, the energy is flowing.
Yeah. I like it. So since we started this conversation, we have talked about acceptance and humility, and also about respecting ourselves. Is there any particular message or teaching you are trying to give, you know, through the yoga, through the asana practice, you know, during your class? Is there something that you really have, you know, set on your hearts that you want to try to share?
Yeah, well, the message may change every now and then a little bit, but I think the main message for me really is just to get to know yourself. Get to know who you are, and take time for yourself to do these things. So come to the mat, come to class, and come with the energy that you have and see what that brings to you. And I mean, for me, I have a lot of beginners in my classes because my classes are quite simple in some way. I give them a lot of options and I choose not to interfere too much sometimes. So what I do is I tell my students, okay, just come. Don't be afraid. There will be people there that are very comfortable and others that are not, but you have your own space and just tune in to yourself, which is why, you know, the beginning and the end of the practice are always the most important.
Maybe it's the right moment to ask you if you have any opinion about today, how we are teaching and practicing yoga. I read a lot of articles, and some people are quite tough about the way it is. I don't have such a strong opinion because I think that I'm not sure we can, export the yoga it has been done in India to the Western people body, but also, our mind, our way to think. I mean, society evolve, people evolve. So for me, it's quite natural that the teaching follow also, the mind and the body. But I was curious about your opinion on this, if you have any sharing on that topic.
I've thought about it a lot since I've been teaching and since I've been in my teacher training. It's quite hard actually for me to answer because I have so many thoughts about it, but I'm going to keep it short anyway. For me, I think teaching yoga in whatever way is good, because if you practice, even if it's just the physical parts, it will not make you a worse person. It will most likely make you bit by bit more interested also in the philosophy, which is great because it can give you a lot of things. So for me, in short, I would say teach your yoga however you teach it. If it resonates with people, then those are the people that need to take your classes. And any benefit that comes from that is good. That's a good thing. That's like a win for me. There are obviously a lot of stories about people that brought yoga to the West and that got out of hand, and there are scandals, as there are with many branches of activities with sports, religions, and anything. But it's quite vast. And that's the thing about yoga. I mean, you have so many teachers and you have so many styles and you have so many variations. You have even more practitioners. And in the end, for me, if everybody would do yoga, the world will be a better place. So just keep on teaching yoga however you teach it. As long as you respect the people that you have in front of you and you respect your heritage in a way, your training and the philosophy that you have been taught, then that's what you should do. That's probably the good path. But you need to, respect.
I think it's very nice to hear that.
Right.
It's very opening, because it can be tough for teacher today.
Yeah. There's so much activity in yoga. I was shocked. Like sometimes I go on fora, on Facebook groups or whatever, and then people talk about, for example, hot yoga, or like I do one type of yoga that not a lot of people do, and there's a lot of scandals about it, but it's stand-up paddle yoga. I taught a class yesterday evening, and I love it because it brings together my two favorite elements, the water and, well, the yoga. So, like, you can't do anything better than that. But, there are people that say, you can't call it yoga. You're not allowed to call it yoga. Yoga is this and this and this. But then, who made the rules here? Come on.
Yeah.
If you don't want me to use the word yoga, fine. But in the end, it is a spiritual practice that I provide them. There is a physical aspect, and then there's these weird elements that I add to it, sure. But it still adds up to the same thing. I make people feel their bodies, get a new sensation, tune into their feelings, tune I can't find the word. Yeah, tune into their energy and to their breath work. And in the end, for me, that's yoga. But, then the question would be, what is yoga for you? And, there's a lot of yoga teachers, unfortunately, that are stuck in a mindset and are not open to listening to the others, and therefore somehow they seem to want to stop the spread in a way, which is sad because it has so much to offer. So if there would be more acceptance and more freedom for everyone, then that would be a lot easier. But you can't make the world in one day. So I try to transmit my message by keeping it open for everyone.
One part of the yoga practice that some people knows, but not everybody, there is the mantra.
Oh,
And
I love it.
yeah, I'm personally also a big fan of mantra, and I think everybody who practices yoga, of course, know the home because we are singing it at the beginning and at the end of the practice. But I'm always curious to find, and to hear the favorite mantra of people, because it's so, in the same time, it's so personal and so universal. So I was curious if you can share with me your favorite mantra.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sing it though, but
Oh, stop it.
I don't have my guitar here.
Okay.
No, mantra since forever has always been the same one. It's Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, because it really just speaks of everything that I believe in. May all beings in all the worlds be happy.
Yes, wishing the peace for everybody in Earth.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. This is
for me.
Yeah.
It's my life goal. So
yeah, that's true. And
I'm hear that one a lot, but I mean, it's there for a reason, and it's so strong for me. There are many different variations where you can sing it, or just write it, or just say it out loud, or repeat it. But the message is so strong, and it's so true.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps also to reconnect with your compassion and make it grows inside of you. I like this part also, that this part that we find also in the metta meditation, for example, that really help you to grow some self-love, but also some love for everybody, not just the person you like, but everybody else, and wishing them the good. I think it's a good message to spread.
Exactly. Yeah. For sure.
All right. I have 2 more questions, and then I leave you with your family.
Oh. I think I know where you're coming, but surprise me.
Okay. So the first one would be if you got an advice, 1, 2, 3, let's say, no more than 3, advice to someone that never did yoga, because I remember, and still today actually, when I say that I'm practicing yoga and I'm a yoga teacher, people say, oh no, this is not for me, I'm not flexible, I cannot touch my toes. And
I love that one.
Yeah, it's a constant, huh? So I was wondering, okay, what would you what advices would you give to someone that never did yoga but will be potentially interested to yoga?
Yeah, well, I have a few different ones. It depends on who I have in front of me. If I have someone who's comfortable with making a joke and they're very unflexible, I always tell them, because, the excuse, as you said, I'm not flexible enough for yoga. And I tell them, you are never too unflexible for yoga, just as you're never too dirty to take a shower. The more, and this is where I explain to them that the more unflexible you are, the more your body is actually protecting you. So it avoids you getting hurt. I prefer to have people that are very stiff in front of me than people who are way too flexible and never did yoga before. Because I was the one who was too flexible and did yoga to start, and I tore out all kinds of muscles everywhere because I was too enthusiastic. So that's one. If it's more about, they don't really know, it's maybe too spiritual, or maybe it's not their type of dynamic, whether it's they slower classes or faster classes, I tell them, just try. Just give it one try. The beginning is always the hardest. The first class is probably tricky because you don't know the person in front of you and you don't necessarily know if this style is good for you. But if you don't try, then you don't know. And in the end of the class, feel free to say that it doesn't suit you. And I will be able to tell you, based on what I saw during class, where you should be going. Because as a teacher, you know the people that you work with around you. You know your colleagues, and you know how to send someone to another class that might be better for them. So when I have people in class, even if they're a little afraid to tell me at the end and I can see that they were not necessarily very comfortable, I go to them and say, hey, I think you might want to try this yoga school also. So try, always give it a try. And actually, I think that's it for me, really. Those are the two most important ones.
Yes,
for sure.
that's good ones. That's good ones. I like it. Yes. Yeah, I also heard that indeed oh no, your guide's too slow for me. I need something more powerful. Okay, come to my class.
Sure. This is the danger for yoga teachers. Sometimes we really, really, really want to please our students, and then we push ourselves into something that doesn't really fit us. So the advice I got from my teacher is that you'll never have 100% of all people that come across you that will like your class. So get ready to get your heart broken a few times, because some students, they might actually leave during class. It happened to me, and it broke my heart, but then I remember, but you know, I'm not a pizza. Not everybody loves me.
I love it. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm not a pizza. I'm gonna remember this one. All right, the last one. The last one is the funny one. I always like to share like fun facts. So do you have like, you know, a fun fact about yourself during a practice, or something happening during a class that facts I need to share?
And honestly, I thought about it so long, because it's also, and I'm not the only one where it happened to. It is so embarrassing to talk about it somehow, but I have to talk about it. So yes, I started yoga practice, and every time I went into the chandelier pose, the la chandelle,
yes.
So every time I went upside down, really, even three-legged dog, I did what we call in English a queef. So air went inside my lady parts and had to come out. And it is not something that you can control, but it's really important that people know about this, because it is so. Some people don't come to class because they're afraid to, that it happens to them.
Yes.
And it turned out that my mula bandha was not at all engaged. I did not have the necessary muscle strength at that point to be able to pull air coming out or in.
Yes.
And so it took me quite a few classes to understand that it got less. And actually the Ashtanga practice for that was really good, because it really strengthened my root muscles. So pelvic muscles, that was a big thing. And then it happened again after I had a baby, and I thought, oh
yes, of course.
Abanda. And I had in my classes where it happened too, and he looked at me like, I'm so sorry, I did not fart. So I said, I know, we'll talk about it after class. The good thing is that most classes, well, no, it's not actually a good thing, but many classes, as you know, are female classes. There are only women there. So that makes it easier to talk about it. But it's also good for men to know. So whether it's only female students or male and female students, if it happens during class, whether it's me, well, nowadays it doesn't really happen that much anymore. I have it under control. My muscles are nicely worked up. But, if it happens, I try to take it lightly. So we can laugh. That's fine. I mean, it's weird, right? It's weird. But
that's funny.
Really nice. It's good to know why. And it helps to understand, how it happened. And it may happen again. Because, not all pelvic muscles are the same. If you had 3 babies, then, it'll happen a little bit more often. So, yeah, that happened to me quite a few times, actually, in my first classes. And, yeah, it happened quite a few times. And I was so embarrassed. Like, it was very close to my teacher. I was in 3-legged dog, and they went in, they went out. And you have to laugh. So I laughed, and I said, I don't know what just happened. And he didn't want to talk about it because there's a male teacher, and he wasn't very comfortable about it. I went on the internet, bing, the lights went on, and I went, oh, wait. So it's normal. And then I started researching techniques on how to not do it. And I realized it was just really stupidly mula bandha and pelvic muscle techniques. So it's not a big deal, but it's good to know. And I thought, I could share any other thing, because I have many other very embarrassing stories from my classes. Many. I think after 12 years of practice, you get a collection, but that one is like a lesson also for all of us.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful one. Thank you. Thank you for the courage to share this quite embarrassing but natural moment.
Though, feel free to use that at some later part.
I know, I love it. I keep all the fun facts, absolutely. just like they are. No cut.
Okay, well, feel free. I discussed it with my family. I said, I'm going to talk about things, on a video. Be ready. So this might happen.
I love it. I love it. Well, this is the end of this interview.
Yes, wonderful. Well, thank you. I think I talked a lot. So if it's,
it was the goal of this conversation. It was I was just like that, just to trigger a little bit, and that's it. Yeah. I was there to listen to you, and I wanted you to express yourself and show your yoga. So thank you very much for that.
You're very, very welcome. It's a pleasure. It was really cool to see you also face to face, because I have followed you. Like, I followed your departure from France, and I really loved the way that you spoke and you wrote, and I was like, damn, I missed her.
Thank you. So that's very sweet.
Or maybe if I come there, I would love to see you, like, in the flesh. That would be wonderful.
That would be wonderful. I agree. Sometimes I went back to Lyon also to reconnect with my students, my friends, my family, and if it happens, I will be happy to come and see you, maybe to your studio.